if people could comment just so that we see everything is working and we're connected, that would be fantastic. Oh, Noel just joined. Hi, Noel. All right, guys.
Hi,
So
Noel.
we're doing live streams more than we used to. So this is a different format. We're in this format. We're basically are going to be trying to cover the news every week. Anything in relation to atheism, religion, secularism, or related stuff. Sometimes we might even cover woo stuff. Okay, Casey Atheist is saying all good. So it seems like the comments from YouTube again are being pulled on the live stream, which is great. But the comment from Facebook still not. Was there any comments on Facebook? Not yet. Okay, so as soon as somebody comments on Facebook, we'll see that it gets pulled over, pulled. Watching from Africa. Hi. Um, but yeah, we're learning
It
as we
looks like
go.
somebody commented from Facebook, right? Here we go.
All right, so it's not being pulled here, the Facebook comments, which is okay. It's fine. We're seeing the YouTube comments right now, but Hilda is gonna help me. She's sitting right next to me. She's gonna, if there's any questions on Facebook or any comments that is relevant, she's gonna mention it to me. Um, but right now we're on the live stream. We're only seeing the YouTube comments. I have to figure out why this is not you pulling over the Facebook comments. We'll figure it out at some point. Anyways, so we have some news to cover. Ali, do you want to go over the? We have 10 news items that we want to cover for last week, and also talk to you and read your comments on it on Facebook, because we posted every single one of these on Facebook on Atheist Republic's Facebook page, and you guys commented. Ali, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're frozen.
Oh, great.
Okay. All right. It's okay as long as we have your audio. Hmm. I don't know why you're
Yeah.
frozen. All right. Okay. So again, technical issues. All right. So can you mention the first news item?
So the first news item that we have is something that you've been posting about a lot lately. The woman who took off her headscarf in Iran was arrested, and it started a huge trend on the internet with the hashtag "Where is she?" And when a lawyer went in to go see what was going on with her, it turned out that she'd been released. So that's what our first item of news is to talk about the woman from Iran who took off her headscarf.
All right. So your sound is vibrating a bit. So this is but that's fine. We'll figure this out as well. So
Okay.
noise vibration, Facebook comments not loading, and also you're completely frozen. Your video is completely frozen. So we have to figure out how to fix these things. If anybody has feedback for next episode, let us know. We're going to be doing this every week. All right. So Rebecca, and when we posted this on Atheist Republic, Rebecca, the top comment, she mentioned. Do you see can you see the first comment? I'm highlighting it.
I
Is it?
can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So she said, "This is so fucking ridiculous. I'm not applauding them letting her go when they shouldn't have arrested her in the first place. Fucking ridiculous to enforce a piece of cloth on someone's head in the first place. Fuck their loss." Yeah, actually, this is a good point. So basically, this is a lady that she started a movement that's lasted even after the Iran protests. The Iran protests were about many things, but this movement that she started, it took a life of its own. It started a little bit before one day before the protest started, but it now continued to after protest. This is basically Iranian girls taking off their hijab in protest to the mandatory rules. But and then she got free. But now a couple other, I think 29 other people now have been arrested, even though she got freed. And Rebecca is right. The fact that they freed her doesn't mean she was in jail for a few weeks anyways, right? I think she became too big of a important figure for them to keep on, because she was getting so much international attention. I think that's why they had to let her go. This shows that this might suggest that the more you share these stories, it does have an impact. Iran does care about its international image, so it does matter. The more you share these, the more you talk about it. And right now, the 29 other people that are arrested, not that many people are talking about it, so their chances are less. Um, yeah, and it's bullshit to the fact that they're forced. I mean, I think Iran really shot themselves in the foot by enforcing hijab. This is something that has made a lot of people hate religious rules. Even some Muslims in Iran don't like these religious rules anymore, and it basically really helps people hate Islam as much as possible. Um, but anyways, I don't want to go in too much detail unless anybody has any question because we have so much other stuff that we need to cover. Um, Yeah, nobody's asking. Any comments regarding the news? No. All right, next one. What? Oh, unless Ali, do you have any comments on this?
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with Rebecca that it is absolutely fucking ridiculous that she was arrested in the first place. But, the fact, well, at least even with international attention, they really didn't have to. Exactly what is Iran's law whenever it comes to hijab? I mean, isn't it mandatory for all women to be wearing them in public? Like, isn't that a law there? So did they actually have to let her go?
I mean, okay, so the law there is different from what actually happens, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
actually it's a good question because something that was happening before she actually got arrested. The first girl got arrested, Vida. Was that there was this fake news being spread around that hijab is no longer mandatory in Iran, and that was completely bullshit. Anybody that knows anything about Iran would have, even without actually checking their sources, would know that this is something that probably is fake news because something like that cannot happen in Iran. There was this small news that regarding, I mean, by small I mean regarding the territory, the police of Tehran, the head of police in Tehran, was saying that only in Tehran, not in all of Iran, he was suggesting that from now on they're not going to arrest girls with bad hijab, not with no hijab. Obviously, girls with no hijab are going to get arrested. But he was saying that girl with bad hijab, that their hijab is that they have bad hijab not on purpose. So he was basically suggesting, I don't know what that means because he basically was suggesting that if you have bad hijab on purpose, you're still going to get arrested. You're still going to get fined. I don't know how could you have bad hijab unintentionally, as he put it. But then he said they will still get arrested, but instead of going to jail, they will go to mandatory Islamic classes. So I don't know what you're still getting arrested. But the thing is that whatever they put on paper is really irrelevant, because at the end of the day, they don't follow their own guidelines, right? Like you have to be. What happens to you really depends on who you're dealing with and how much attention your case is getting. I mean, another girl that got recently arrested, the fine that they gave her was basically way above whatever what the law was on paper. So it completely shows that these laws are, for show only. And it really depends on which judge you get, who arrested you, and and what the political climate is around your case at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I was really upset about the people that kept like a lot of people started sharing that news that hijab is no longer mandatory in Iran, and we and some big people as well, and we told them to please take it down. This is fake news, and they did it, which was very sad. Anyways, the reason why it was very important for them to not spread that is because these girls were getting arrested, and this news was, people were sharing that to say that the girls getting arrested news is fake, because how could they get arrested where hijab is no longer mandatory? And so that's how much those stories were hurting their cases, right? Anyways, let's go to the next one.
So our next one, the Dutch Moroccan woman who was charged with child abuse of another after she put her 9-year-old son's hands in a hot oven in the belief that it would drive out an evil spirit. So this is the first case that they've ever seen in the Netherlands. So it's a pretty big deal. It's pretty big that they're charging her with child abuse over it, and especially with the rise of exorcism claims all throughout Europe.
Right. So, what's the penalty for that?
I think that since this is the first case like this that they've ever had to charge with, I'm not sure we even know at this moment. I mean, the article doesn't exactly say what her worst, most severe punishment could. But I mean, she stuck her kid's hands in a hot oven.
Oof.
Like, as a mother myself, I can't imagine. I can't imagine anything in the world getting me to want to do something like that to my child, even if I believed I'd be saving his soul. It's hard. It's really hard to understand it. But yeah, the defense that they're going with in this case is that when her Muslim background, they believe that psychological problems are caused by demons. So, if her son was suffering from any sort of psychological trauma or any sort of psychological disorder, she believed that an exorcism absolutely was going to save him. So that's the defense they're going with on that. It's hard to swallow.
Yeah, the top comment says, what idiot lawyer defends that? Shoot them both in the face. We have no need for people who abuse anyone, especially kids. We also have no... Okay, this person... Okay, I agree with whoever replied to the first person. Really, do you really think people... where was this? Netherlands?
Yep.
Do you think that they're going to round people up because of this and shoot them in the face? Like, what kind of stupid comment is this? Obviously,
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, the worst of all, people are going to have to get a lawyer to defend them. That's how the law works. This is a good thing that they get a lawyer. You have to give everybody a chance. If you didn't get a lawyer, then you could just accuse somebody of doing something like this and get them in prison. This is I'm really, when I read comments like this, I really fear for what could happen if there wasn't countries where rule of law and like due process wasn't a thing. Like
absolutely.
Like I really think like if there was, we were, I, honestly, there would be mobs everywhere basically taking justice in their own hand, and I don't know how many innocent people would get killed if this was anybody has to go to, that whatever they've done, they have to get a lawyer, they have to have somebody defend them just to make sure that that justice is being done, and at the end of the day, if they did something wrong, it doesn't matter how good their lawyer is, they're gonna, if they're going to be convicted of the crime, and they're going to get the punishment that they deserve. So I agree with this guy here. But but again, I agree that the excuse is bullshit. I mean, if that was the excuse, then I mean, anybody, let's say like people do crazy things in the name of religion, right? And then you say, well, these people were crazy. Well, I mean, then technically anybody that does a crime, then you could say that about them. You know what I mean? Like, who would go,
right?
Any murderer. I mean, unless I guess you could have a expert psychologist and come and say. So, do you know what was the result? Did you mention, like, did they actually, were they charged or weren't they, or are we waiting for that? Do you know that?
We're waiting for that right now. Yeah, so this is something kind of new. So this is just like the breaking story. But I completely agree with you, because whenever we look at what's going on in Pakistan right now, we see that there's a problem with people just being able to accuse other people of blasphemy and getting them in trouble with the law. It doesn't actually take any proof, it just takes an accusation. So, whenever we live in a society where people aren't allowed to defend themselves, no matter how stupid their crime was, we kind of lose a lot of dignity ourselves than just allowing that to happen.
Yeah. I agree. So let's go on to the next news. By the way, I know the audio is not that good. Sorry about that, guys. I mean, my idea I think is great. Ali, your idea is shit. But that's fine. All right. So we have to figure out how to make your audio better. Maybe it's your internet connection. Maybe you just need better connection.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe
that's what's going on.
Maybe if I close some windows. If I close the live streaming window, does it still live stream? I'm not gonna close it. don't know what's gonna happen. Anyways, let's go to the next one. I'm gonna I'm gonna close the YouTube live streaming. Maybe that will help. Okay, so what's the next story?
Okay, the next story is really awesome. It is the Star Wars fans defy church protests to attend for a cinema showing on a Sunday in Isle of Lewis. So it's a huge deal in this little isle west of Scotland that the Sabbath has to be honored at all times. And so people kind of protesting the Sabbath to go to this Star Wars movie is a huge deal there, and it's also they've had other they actually have a court hearing coming up about them opening up pools on the Sabbath and allowing people to do other things because they believe that the Sabbath should be a choice if you want to adhere to it or not. So this is kind of a pretty deal in this little Isle of Lewis in Scotland that people are starting to protest some of their old archaic laws.
Where is this again? Oh, is this like how is this even okay? So how is this even a question over there that people have to protest for it? Is this
because they have like it is so ingrained into their culture that their community pool or like the landlord that owns some of the property there put in a really old, again it's archaic, but the contract he had with the Isle that yes, he would give the property to them as long as they promised to always abide by the Sabbath. So the fact that it's just so ingrained over there. And what I also didn't understand is these two protesters went out on the Sabbath to work a protest about people not working or doing anything on the Sabbath. So even the protest kind of
actually that's a very good point, and that's the second comment as well. The second comment I say, but they're not, but aren't they protesting on the Sabbath? Like
yes, see,
they're
exactly.
working on the Sabbath. Yeah, okay. And but this first comment says there are two franchises about fantasy going head to head. That's funny, but the difference is one of them actually believes that their fantasy is real. So and that's the problem with that one. So if they were going to, all right. So that's good. So let's go to next one. Unless there's a question, Hilda, let me know. You're checking both Facebook and YouTube. All right, so let me know if there's any comments relevant to what we're talking about, not nothing else. All right, so what's the next item?
Next one is Egypt moves ahead with plans to outlaw atheism.
Oh my God! I when I first heard that, I thought this must be just the Mufti just saying something and people taking it too seriously, and it's never gonna turn into something. Apparently, I was completely wrong. What's going on here?
Well, it was strange when I was looking for this article in particular. Newsweek and Independent and all of the big news agencies covered the fact that there was a hearing in Egypt to outlaw atheism, but they didn't follow through after the court hearing to report that they absolutely did outlaw atheism. It is a crime in Egypt now.
Holy shit! My assumption wasn't that wrong. But they, at first it wasn't going through, but then they went on with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you outlaw atheism? Like, what does that mean? Like, how is that enforced? I don't understand. Like, is that like outlawing advocating for atheism? Because you can't outlaw me changing my opinion if I don't like. So basically, talking about it, spreading it, inviting people to consider it, that's outlawed, I think. Are you there still, Ali?
Yeah, I'm here. I think that anything in regards to defending atheism, because if you say that, how can you outlaw atheism? I mean, they can definitely do anything they want now as far as the topics of atheism are concerned. You make something that um, indirect, you can use that law to apply it any way you want to, and that's scary. That absolutely scares me.
Yeah, that is scary, especially since a lot of people have been to jail in Egypt. Not even non-terrorist people, secular activists with the charge of terrorism. So they're very relaxed with regards to applying labels to people. So it doesn't really matter if they're right or if they could prove it or not, as long as they just claim it. I mean, the court there in Egypt is now really shit. There's so many people in jail that don't deserve to be there, and this is the problem I have with a lot of atheists that support Sisi. What do you say now? Like, oh, at least this guy was supposed to be secular. And really? Atheism is outlawed now. So, I mean, people say like, oh, this guy is better. Mubarak was Muslim Brotherhood and all that shit. I don't know. I have a hard time I mean, theocracy is bad, but I'm never going to support a dictator against theocracy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's just absolutely mind-boggling how this is happening. There was something in this article um, that actually brought up what I was talking about the varying interpretations within Islamic authority around the world over what constitutes blasphemy or atheism. So, I mean, they can't define it themselves or at least put it forward as far as what they want it to be. And, to have somebody in control of people who doesn't even know or can use any definition they want to attack or apply this to anyone they want. It's just it's terrifying.
Wait, so the top comment is saying, why is the picture a Swedish police car? Yeah, actually, that's a good point. But we didn't pick the picture, by the way. This is just.
Hey, can I try something different with my audio really quick? And can you tell me if this works better?
All right. While you do that, I'm going to check the second comment.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that better?
Well, I don't know. We have to wait until, because your sound was choppy, but it wasn't choppy all the time. It's just choppy sometimes. So it sounds like it might be better, but let's try it. I think it might have to do more with the fact that I have so many live stream and Skype open and recording and streaming at the time. So it might be slowing down my computer. I might have to invest in a better computer to be able to do these things. So maybe that's the reason. But let's see if it was your mic. So, this is a long comment. List of countries. Oh, what happened? How did this happen? I didn't click on anything. Countries according to Afghanistan. Yeah, okay, this guy is just giving us a report of the countries where yeah, we know. Yeah, in 13 countries, leaving as atheism will get you killed. So, Egypt has not joined the list yet, but at least it could get you in prison. We'll see how that goes. This is really sad, by the way. Really sad. I don't know if the sorry, I said Mubarak earlier. I meant Morsi. I wonder if Morsi would do something like this. He probably would. Anyways, let's see. Comment. Let me know if any Egyptian atheists are here and think I'm an idiot not to support Sisi, or maybe this has nothing to do with Sisi. Because, it's just in Egypt there are many different powers at play, right? You have the religious powers, and then you have, Sisi. You have the military, and even in the military there are some internal struggles. So it's complicated. But if you have any insight into this, and tell us why the fuck this is happening. Like, is this the religious forces in Egypt forcing? Because I know this is not Sisi's priority. So is he just trying to give in to some Islamic force? Because I don't know. Just let us know if you know why this is happening. All right. So let's go to the next one.
Okay, the next one is something that's pretty cool because I've actually had the chance to speak to Harrison Mummy, and he's the president of Atheists in Kenya. A high court overturned suspension of Atheist Society, and the Atheist Society they're speaking of is Harrison's Atheist in Kenya, and this is really cool. That it ended up playing down this way. So they suspended the registration of atheists in Kenya because they were receiving a lot of complaints. They find out outrageous. So
by the way, your noise.
It after he went to.
You're getting more choppy now. Can you repeat that last part?
More choppy. Okay.
What? Did you figure out why? What's happening? What's making that?
I think so. I don't
now
know.
You're not choppy. Now you're not choppy. All right. Say it fast before you get choppy.
Yes. So Harrison ended up going to a higher court to overturn the suspension of atheists in Kenya, and he ended up winning. And atheists in Africa are actually calling for the suspension of Prof, and I can't pronounce his last name, but the man who took away the registration in the first place. They're calling him to be removed, accusing him of bias. So this is huge. In Africa, atheism isn't really popular. So it's pretty cool that it's kind of got some play. Atheists in Kenya have gotten some publicity here.
By the way, somebody commented about the last story. He or she is asking, only atheism can get you jailed, or believing the spaghetti monster can get you jailed as well? That's a good question. I wonder what the... By the way, this story, when we posted it on Atheist Republic, the person, I can't pronounce his name, Mukaria Kimbui. He actually commented. He says, "This is our chapter in Kenya, and we couldn't be happier." Okay, so Mukaria, get in touch with us. See if we could promote your chapter somehow. Like, we want to help out, bring more attention to your. This is very great activism. Great job, you guys. So yeah, that's great. Kenya and Nigeria are very important places when it comes to atheist activism in the next decade or so. So we need to see if we could help out as much as we can. Anyways, do you have any comments on this story?
No. Right. No. Other than I'm just super excited for them. I really am. It's great.
That's good. All right. So let me just see. This is taking forever to load. I think because I have too many things open. All right. So what's the next story?
The next story is probably one of the most exciting ones. And the reason why I find it so exciting is a couple issued an apology to the LGBT community, which was a phenomenal apology and one that was very much so deserved. A gay man and straight woman who married to prove their commitment to Mormon Church announced divorce.
Oh yeah, I heard about this one. So before this, there's a backstory to this one. I think the previous major thing that happened was that he first announced that he was gay. I don't know if it was a couple of years ago or what, but
yeah, it was.
But then he said that, but he's gay, but he loves his wife and he's committed to his relationship with his wife, something like that, and they're gonna stay married and they're gonna make it work, right? Basically, as if he's gay, but he's just not gonna act on being gay. And basically, a lot of religious people like that because they sort of listen and see you can still, even if you're gay, if you don't act on it, you can still make the family work, right? So this was really hurtful to a lot of gay people, right? Because it was suggesting that even if you're gay, you could still be in a, you have to still try, right? As if there's...
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. Yeah, it absolutely is ridiculous. And it something that angered me, and I know it angered a lot of people, but their apology, I think, is very important. And I wanted to read a part of it. But they said, "We're sorry for any degree that our existence and the publicity for our supposedly successful marriage made you feel less than as you made your own terribly difficult choice." So they acknowledge the fact that their story coming out and saying that this guy saying, "I'm gay, but I love the Lord so much that I'm still going to be a good person by marrying a woman. And they set an example of what homophobic people believed all gay people should do. And I really think that it was important that they acknowledged that they had they played a hand in some people's lives and made them feel like they weren't worthy.
All right, and so what happened up it's very good that they did this, and I think the story behind it and why they did this is that they, other than the fact that their marriage wasn't working out, was that they actually went and spent a lot of time with the gay community and talked to them right after that, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
realized the damage that they were causing, and now they're separated and they're apologizing, which takes a lot of not that many people admit that they did something wrong, so this is pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was just so like really, really had to hand it to them for coming out and saying, hey, we may have played a part in hurting some people and we would like to apologize for that. That takes a lot of guts and that's really cool.
Yeah. So the first comment is on Facebook, Atheist Republic, when we posted, it says, "Why is religion so obsessed with controlling people's private lives?" Um, you might think this is stupid, but this is actually genius. I mean, not genius by design, genius by the natural selection of the best memes, right? It's very telling people not to do things that they naturally want to do does make you feel worthless, does make you feel sinful, and does make you want to come back to the church to cleanse yourself and ask for forgiveness, right? It's a very effective way of controlling people. Like, anyways, if actually a good book to read that is God and Sex by Daryl Ray. I think it's.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
That's a very good book.
Yeah, just read that book. That's a very interesting book to read. Dr. Daryl Ray. The second comment is saying, to some extent, I feel sorry for them. Decades of life wasted. Yeah. Imagine how happy, how much more meaningful relationships they could have had if religion didn't get in the way, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They have 3 children.
Well, and they had four daughters.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into details, but I really don't even know how that works if you're not attracted. Like, I don't know how.
But they did mention that in the news article. They said that they had a very satisfying sex life, and I want to say that's probably a lie.
Yeah, not only a lie, but how's that? Like, I can't even understand the mechanics. Okay, anyway, I don't want to get into that, but I don't get it. I do not get it. Anyways, maybe somebody that had this experience that are gay and had to be in a straight relationship for a time could explain this to me. How is that even possible? Yeah. Anyways, let's go to the next story. Are you still there?
Yeah. I am still here. Okay. So then our next story is Praise the Lord and Pass the Rattlesnakes, the pastor killed by the viper he preached with. Did you ever, okay, there was a Netflix, I think it was Netflix. It was on some TV show. I only watch Netflix. I don't have cable. But they did 2 seasons of a church that worshiped with snakes. And the reason why it was only 2 seasons and it had to stop was because the preacher was bitten by a snake and died. So this is a more recent story of the church handlers here in America. They're a very small, it's a dying religion, but they believe on a very short version of scripture that they can drink poison and they can take up snakes because God says that it can't harm them because he's with them. So they took that little piece of scripture and that's how they worship. They worship with deadly snakes and they worship with poison and anything else, but it's mostly just, deadly snakes.
Isn't that because there's part of the Bible that says that the people that are with Jesus to get, if the bite of the snake doesn't do anything to them or something like that. I forgot what the verse was. I think I read it a while ago. Is there a verse like that? Is that the reason why they do? Why do they? Here's the thing. Why do they do this?
Well, they do it to prove to God that they believe him.
Right.
So it's ridiculous, but it's what they do. They prove to God, God, you said this, and here we are. We're going to do it because you said you're going to protect us. And so it's kind of like those weird stories you read about pastors,
uh, I feel bad for
fasting
laughing
30
because
days.
I feel bad for laughing because this guy probably has a family and children that are gonna miss their dad. Like, I mean, the story is ridiculous, so you can't stop yourself from laughing. But it's not really. It shouldn't be funny because he's probably. Oh yes. What question? Oh, all right. Send it to me on WhatsApp. All right. So Hilda is gonna send me the Facebook questions because I don't have access to it here. Anyways, let me see. But what do you think? Like, I mean, and some people sometimes say like, "Oh, this is natural. This is the Darwin Award and stuff like that," and they make fun of it. I mean, I don't think no matter how dumb you are, you don't deserve to. You know, the punishment shouldn't be. You don't deserve to die for it, right? What do you think?
Yes and no. So, I was also very outrageously religious. And you were very religious. You're from Islam, I'm from Christianity. So,
Yeah.
uh, when it comes to God and proving your love to God, some Christians take it a lot further than others. And with this particular church, if you will, the snake handlers, they pass their beliefs down to their children. Their children take over their church, and so it's a dying church, literally, because these people are dying off, quite literally. And so, whenever you ask yourself, like, well, I've never seen a church like this. Um, they're mostly in Kentucky and Tennessee, in the Appalachian area. But when you say I've never seen a church like this, how come it's not bigger? How come it's not smaller? Well, the people within the church need to ask themselves, why are we dying off? Why are we
Wait.
getting less and less followers? Well, and it's because you're literally dying off.
I mean, do
Like,
you care? I mean, who cares about? Okay, well, first of all, if you do actually die, does that mean somebody on Facebook is asking actually this? What were they trying to do? Are they were they trying to show God that they can that dangerous animals can be humbled by God? And no, that's not the case. They're just trying to because there's a Bible verse. I forgot which one of it is. I think that's the reason that mentions that. You're not supposed to die. So if they do die, does that mean that he was not a god man? You know, like he wasn't worthy? Is that what it means? Based on their
um,
ideology?
based on their ideology, that's what they say.
Okay,
And
so
it's
you have to. So if you're this guy's family, that you have to, you would be
I found the verse really quick. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them.
right.
They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. So it's really also up to the people in the church to lay hands on the person who has drinking the poison or been bitten by the
Okay, so
snake
if I'm
to
this guy's
heal.
son or daughter, I have to be upset, extra compared to because first I lost my dad. Second of
Right.
all, he wasn't worthy, right? Because my ideology says that he's not supposed. Nothing is gonna. If he was right, nothing is gonna happen to him. He's not. He wasn't a chosen person for. So
Right.
does that mean he's going to hell? I don't know.
And
Um,
you also would need to blame yourself because
for
your
not.
healing touch, whenever you
Oh, you
laid
did.
hands on him, you didn't cure him.
Fuck. That's such so messed
So
up. Yeah,
it really is.
this got sadder than I thought. But yeah, but even here, look, even the first comment it says like tripod, rattlesnakes, handling. Um, so Kanye West music. I don't know how that's relevant. Nature finds nature finds a way to thin the herd. So this is not. I mean, it's funny and all, but I mean, a lot of people find it funny, but I don't think it's fair. I don't know why this keeps happening. I don't think it's fair. I think like even like Tide Pods, they think like people are dumb. Being dumb is very normal. Actually, it's very common, and I think that being dumb. You're not you're not worthy of dying just because you're dumb, right?
Right.
Being figuring life out and knowing what's bullshit and what's fact. If you have figured most of it out, or if you think that you're above other people, I think you got lucky. You maybe your genes helped out because you end up being more curious, you end up being smarter, you end up naturally looking for evidence, or maybe your environment helps, maybe your parents helped, maybe the fact that you got an education worked, maybe the fact that people around you also care about what's true and what's not work. Something. So yeah, we have to be a little bit more sympathetic to the people that are maybe not as smart as you think they are. I don't think they should suffer like this just because they're not that smart, right? I think.
Right.
I mean, just remember, no matter you find these people dumb, I'm pretty sure we are very dumb compared to some other people, right? So if relative to us, if these people deserve to die, do you think relative to those much smarter people than us, then do we deserve to, suffer and die? Anyways, that's my 2 cents on this. So, what do you think? Next story, or do you have any comments?
Yeah, we can go on to the next story.
All right.
Let me get it pulled up here.
Let me see if anybody said anything. No, nothing relevant. And right now we're here. What's the next one?
So the next one is Catholic Church needs more exorcists due to urgent increase in demonic activity, priest warns.
Oh my god.
And it's an Irish priest, by the way, who is calling for backup and more exorcisms. And it's, the Catholic Church had to do a lot of PR to kind of move away from exorcisms and being known for all the crazy stuff they've done. So they've done a lot of PR work to say, hey, we're smart enough now to know psychology plays a big role in this, and we need to know when somebody is mentally ill, or if they're, hardly anyone is ever truly possessed anymore. So now this Irish priest is just saying, hey, we've got all these demands for exorcisms. Y'all, the Catholic Church needs to step up, and we need to pull together, and we need to start doing more exorcists on people.
Oh my
Yikes.
Yeah, I really don't even know. Like, this is what we're missing in the world. We're running out of exorcists. Consider this your next career choice. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what to say. This just speaks for itself. This is so dumb. Imagine the amount of time and energy and resources that is being wasted for training these people, and then paying these people, and then people that think that. Oh, by the way, a lot of these people that do get exorcism they probably are suffering from something serious, right?
Exactly.
And then instead of going to the doctor, they're going to these idiots, which are using ancient scripture to try to solve them. So it's actually okay. So the damage is from many parts. First of all, you're wasting good, valuable time and resources with people that could have committed doing something else. And second of all, you're encouraging more people to go, instead of getting actual much needed help, to go and get this woo shit, ancient woo kind of shit. Yeah. So, people that do, show the signs of that are traditionally seen as being demon possessed, they often are seriously in need of some expert help, right?
Well, it's funny, in the article they mentioned that Italy and Ireland are where most of the exorcisms are performed now, because other countries have kind of grown up with the idea that, okay, these people need mental help, not an exorcism. So they said that Ireland and Italy get bombarded with people who truly believe they need exorcisms.
Yeah. So I don't know if this should even be a crime or not.
I think it should.
Do you think it should
I think if you try to exorcise demons out of somebody, you should be arrested. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, imagine if it wasn't religion. Imagine if I came and say, like, hey, I have these methods that's gonna cure your this or that. It's gonna solve your problems, and they actually came and, like, if you sell false if you false advertise something, right? So basically, if I want to claim these things, I just have to make sure I pick one of these ancient established myths instead of making up a new one for it to be legal. And so if it's not one of these ancient ones, it would be illegal. But if it's one of these ancient bigger ones, not only it would be legal, it's actually tax exempt. So
Yeah,
that's the difference.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, this should be, I mean,
Wow.
I don't want to, I'm not in for banning and too much regulations by government, but false advertising and telling people that you could cure something that you can't is one of those things that there should be regulations for. So I really do think these people are just getting away with this just because it's a religion, which is sad. Anyways, it's, you see, most of the funny stories that we have end up also being extremely sad when you think about it.
Exactly.
All right, so 2 more left. What's the next one?
Okay, this next one is really cool for anyone who studied psychology and the psychology behind advertising. Thinking about God makes people believe they are safer. So this is really about how to advertise to people who are highly religious. An example they give in here is if you are trying to get somebody to get a new vaccine. I guess, for instance, that would be like the HPV vaccine for young girls. I know a lot of my friends are even still not supporters of that. So if you're putting out an ad to scare people into getting a new vaccine, the article says that those who are thinking about God won't respond strongly because they believe God is going to take care of whatever issue it is.
I thought this was.
Yeah.
I thought at first when I read the title, I thought they were trying to say why believing in God is a good thing, but apparently this is a false sense of security that could actually be damaging. That's what they're saying.
It is. It is. And they're also, advising people who are trying to advertise to highly religious areas to not use scare tactics. I mean, and this is even, as they mentioned in here, for flood insurance, right? You're trying to sell flood insurance in a highly religious area. Don't try to scare people into buying the flood insurance. You'll want to try a different technique, because if you try to scare people, people will say, God's on my side. I'm not worried.
By the way, Brian on YouTube just made a comment. I want to respond to that about the previous story, because I think he's responding to me saying it should be illegal, right? For you to have false advertising. He's saying it is the customer's responsibility if you buy oceanfront property in Nevada. That is your fault, not the seller, right?
Well, and I agree with them on that extent, but I believe that when people are mentally ill and you're targeting the mentally ill, and that's what exorcisms are really doing, or children, even better yet, I think that that's when some intervention should be had.
No, I would say no. I mean, I would say that, yeah, if the seller didn't lie about anything, and you could have looked up something and figured it out, then yeah, it's the buyer's fault. But if the seller actually lies about the product that it's selling or the service that it's selling, not only that's already a regulation for most products, right? If, for example, if I buy a can of soup and it's poisonous, Brian, do you still think that I should have, every time I open a can, should I have my own private lab and test everything, make sure it's not poisonous before I eat it? Like if they're selling, if somebody says, if they're selling a house and there's, I don't know, if it has termites and they don't tell me, yes, I could have done investigated, and it's partially my responsibility. But if I ask them, does this house have termites, and they tell me no, that the fact that they're telling me that's also illegal. Yeah, I'm responsible, but it's illegal for you to lie to your customers about the product that you're selling. Sellers lie every day. Well, if you could prove it, then you have a case to make against them, and you could sue them. Yeah, they lie every day, but you should go ahead. I mean, it's already the law. You could sue everybody that lies, that sells you a product that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. We have court system for that, and you could sue them. So why is it not the same thing with religion? Anyways, let's go back to the. We spent too much time on the previous story. What's this one? Okay, so yeah. So this is good that they were. So what was the solution that they were offering? That if your customers are religious, to do what?
To try different ideas for advertising to them. Don't use scare tactics because they'll always rely on God.
God protect me. Don't worry, God will protect me. Yeah, this is actually a very good counter argument to people that say, "Well, God gives people hope. Why? God gives people a sense of security. Why would that take? Why would you take that away from them? Well, because it's not good to always feel safe and secure when you're not safe. You know, sometimes you should.
Yeah.
Sometimes you should be more realistic about the safety and security that you have, so you can make better decisions. Having hope is one thing. Having false hope is something else, right? Hope is not always a good thing. If you have hope in things that will never happen, then you're going to make bad decisions in your life, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the last one. What's the last one? This is in India, I think.
Last one is good. Yes. India's education minister just called evolution scientifically wrong.
Oh my fucking God.
So, well, yeah, well, even better. I'm going to read this from the article, a little excerpt here that'll kind of put this in perspective. It says, in an ignorant attempt to deliberately misunderstand. Yep.
Can you repeat that because you got very choppy for a little bit? Yeah, go ahead.
I got choppy again. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
In an ignorant attempt to deliberately. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, sorry. One second.
That's okay. We'll get this worked out next time. In an ignorant attempt to deliberately misunderstand the groundbreaking theory, Singh added that nobody, including our ancestors, in written or oral, have said they saw an ape turning into a man. So,
you know, there's this quote that I forgot who mentioned. There was this guy on Twitter. I wish I knew who said it right now so I could give credit. It was like and whenever somebody says that they don't believe in evolution, I used to ask them why, but now instead of asking them why they don't believe in evolution, I first ask them if they understand evolution, right? You know,
yeah.
If they even understand what the theory is, don't even ask them like how. Because it's 99.9% of the time is people that haven't even bothered to understand what is this claim that they're saying it's not true. Like they don't even know what it says before they. I mean, I heard so many people like, have you ever seen a cat turn into a dog? Like, yeah, okay, that's you really think that's the claim that people are making? You really think all the most brilliant minds in the world in biology and in evolutionary biology, they have not considered this, and we tell them like, oh yeah, you're right. We have never seen a cat turn into a dog. What were we thinking? Thank you for pointing that out. And this you've thought about this, but all these people have never. They completely just didn't cross their mind, and they ignored that detail. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, and isn't it like Ray Comfort who likes to give the analogy?
I didn't actually notice this. I noticed the minister part. This is the education minister?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Oh my God. I thought the US had a problem with it of us. India.
Well, we do. We do.
No, isn't this I mean, I'm pretty sure does she believe in evolution? I think she does.
I don't think so. I mean, I would be shocked if she did. How about that? I'd be shocked if she did.
If she did, you would be shocked. Wow.
Yeah, she is very religious.
Oh my God, how fucked are we that this is actually a question that education.
And I understand that there are religious people who do also include evolution into their beliefs religiously, but there are many that don't. So I would be shocked if DeVos believed in evolution.
Okay, so you were saying something, but I'm gonna read the first comment after you do.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find something else in here. It was funny. right after that part that I told you that he said that never has it been written or orally said that they've seen an ape turning into a man. In the article, it immediately says this statement was too ridiculous to ignore. And so thankfully, leading scientists around the world actually spoke out to criticize this comment. And I think that's very important to know that the world is working to educate India's educational minister. And I think that that's just an important part to point out here.
All right. Some people from India are commenting. This first person is saying just a clarification to the story. It wasn't the education minister of India. It was the minister of state from the most backward state in India. Okay, you know.
Read the replies.
Huh? Okay.
I'm just curious.
Because I do notice a lot of Indians get very obsessed over making sure India doesn't look bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, but let me see. State Minister of Fisheries still has made India a laughing stock. And he also wanted to point out that he got a lot of reactions in India that criticized him. So he wanted to make sure. Thank you for pointing that out. But your country. Don't be so obsessed with making your country. You're not responsible for your country. You're responsible for yourself. Don't be so sensitive about these things, right? I mean, I'm sensing that's the reason why he's saying these things. But thank you for the clarification, anyways. See, like this guy, I think from the U.S. probably. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's saying, "Don't worry, there are morons in the USA saying similar things." Yeah, see, at least this guy doesn't shy away from saying that their country has backward people in it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It doesn't. What your country does is not. What your politicians does shouldn't worry about. You shouldn't think that reflects poorly on you. You're responsible for you. You're responsible for you as an individual, not for your entire country. Okay.
That's right.
The second comment saying. He said that evolution is fake because no one has ever seen a monkey turning into a human. Yep, that is the present situation of India's education system. So there's another Indian guy. He's actually confirming the story. Well, we don't know. We don't know exactly who's right. If it was an education minister or not. The people are saying to comment to the first person, even if it wasn't. Was important person that said this, so it's kind of. Did the article itself mention that this was an education minister?
The article.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in the
Yeah,
title.
they specifically call out India's Minister for Higher Education.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is pretty sad in any case. Anyways, by the way, another thing with claims in India is that apparently they have figured out a lot of scientific facts way before anyone else did. Like apparently Ganesh, cutting off Ganesh's head and replacing it with an elephant was the first human transplant in history. So I think Moby said that that's proof that India has way ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to science. I mean, they have this claims that Hindus in India, they had a lot of science, and before the rest of the world discovered it, and then the English came and stole it, and that's why the British became so advanced and all that good stuff. But it's interesting, and a lot of atheists in India seem to have. Not all of them, obviously, but have this attachment to Hinduism, and also India history and India as a country. So when when we post about Christianity and Judaism and Islam, they laugh. But every time we post about Hinduism, and like, Hinduism is not a religion. Don't you know that Hinduism accepts atheists and all that stuff? And like, okay, listen, we call that all kinds of bullshit, and Hinduism has a lot of bullshit claims in it, and we're not going to stop calling it out just because you think it's less harmful than the other ones. Anyways, I think, by the way, if you think I'm being an idiot for criticizing Hinduism, please come and let me know, educate me, or if you think I'm right. I do think that Hinduism in India is becoming a bigger problem than it used to be. They're becoming. I don't know if it's a new thing or if we're just noticing it more, but they're becoming more extremist. And I've noticed that they're very, very sensitive when it comes to criticizing um, anything relevant to Hinduism. It's becoming. They're competing very much with their Muslim brothers and sisters in India. So it's getting really bad. And Hinduism as an ideology is getting really mixed with nationalism in India. Just like I noticed the same thing when it comes to Zoroastrianism and in Iran when it comes to going, mixing religion, a certain religion with the nationalistic attitudes in that country. But in India has much more experience with that. It's kind of the same with Jews and Israel, I guess. Some Jews and Israel. But anyways, any comments? Any closing remarks before you go?
No, I'm good.
All right. I think I know. Sorry guys for the sound stuff. I think we did pretty good for our first attempt. It didn't get cut or anything. What I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna try to cut the. Hilda, can I get your help here? I'm gonna close the live stream video on Facebook for myself and see if the live stream continues. So next time I don't have to have this tab open, which might make it faster. All right. So if it doesn't, bye guys, bye Facebook live streamers, but maybe we'll stay on. Let me just see. Leave. Hilda, are we still live on Facebook? Just wait a few seconds because there's a little bit delay. I'm gonna close this. Go to here. Patriotism is the way to go within nation states borders. That's one comment. We need to have an episode about. We need to have an episode about nationalism at some point. All right. So, are we still live on Facebook? All right, so that means that next time I can just close that window and we'll be good. All right, guys, everybody, thank you for everything.
Can you?
Okay. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was going to ask if you could refresh my screen to see if fixing that in the future, but we can handle all that off.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't have. I mean, Skype doesn't have a refresh option.
Yeah. Right. Oh, it's frustrating.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you, everyone. Comments with feedback, please. Thank you.